Yo, what is up guys? This is Vaulty back again with a brand new video. So World of Warcraft is a massive game and has a long history of updates, things that have been added to the game, as well as things that have been removed from the game. But with that being said, let's get into 10 things that have been removed from World of Warcraft. 2005 Epic Mounts. So in the early days of World of Warcraft, in the classic WoW days, Blizzard really didn't intend for most players to get a hold of mounts, and especially not epic mounts. Back in the day, Blizzard only believed that only a few people could ever get mounts in the game, so they made the price of mounts extremely expensive because they just didn't think many people would get it. Especially not epic mounts that cost 1000 gold to learn, which at the time was an insane amount of money. It would take you so many days of farming gold to ever get to that point where you could afford one of these mounts. So they just really didn't expect anyone to get an epic mount in the game. Very few people could ever get it. So they didn't spend that much effort into designing the skins for the epic mounts. And the epic mounts you could get before patch 1.4 had unique designs that you can no longer get today. So some of the original epic mounts that you can no longer get is the Palomino Bridle, Reigns of the Ancient Frost Saber, and more. As you can tell, a lot of these mounts pretty much have the basic mount design and they just call it an epic mount and it gives you an extra speed bonus, but the skin itself wasn't really thought of that much by Blizzard, so they just quickly created some skins for the epic mounts and this is what we got. But some of these mounts are really unique looking and are actually pretty damn cool to look at. One of them being the Ivory Raptor, which is a white raptor which just looks really cool and has red eyes. It's like an albino raptor that you can no longer get. But yeah, if you have any of these mounts, you are exceptionally lucky to have them, as very few people ever could afford an epic mount back in the day, especially before patch 1.4, which landed in about 2005. Number 2 is Demonic Sacrifice. So in the Burning Crusade, Warlocks were so overpowered in the Burning Crusade because of one talent they had, and that was Demonic Sacrifice. Demonic Sacrifice was removed as soon as the Burning Crusade was over because Blizzard realized how strong this was. So Demonic Sacrifice was a talent you could get as a Warlock if you spec'd into the Demonology tree. And what the Demonic Sacrifice did was give you bonuses if you sacrificed your pet. So you would sacrifice your pet and you would gain a bonus on your own stats, as sacrificing different demons gave you different effects. However, the most significant effect was your Succubus. If you sacrifice your Succubus, you would gain an extra 15% damage on your shadow spells, which is absolutely insane considering that Warlocks were just casting Shadow Bolt over and over again. It was all shadow damage, so it was basically a talent that increased your damage by 15%. Which was absolutely insane. So because of this, mages were getting the shaft when it came to getting raid spots, as Warlocks just did straight up more damage than a mage, so there really wasn't any point in bringing a mage to a raid. Maybe one for Arcane Intellect, but other than that, mages were just shafted by Warlocks because of this one spell. And to be honest, this had to be removed from the game because Warlocks in the Burning Crusade was so freaking strong. Like it was just insane the amount of damage they could do. They were probably the best DPS class at that time, and they were just way too strong because of this one spell. Number 3 is Hunter Quivers. So in the early days of World of Warcraft, hunters had to have one of their bag slots taken up by a quiver, and no other class had to deal with that. Hunters had to use items that would take up slots in your bag to even use their basic abilities. You would need to buy ammo and a quiver, which basically means a hunter just has less slots in their bag compared to every other class. Quivers also increased your attack speed by a huge percentage, so it was impossible not to get it. Like if you wanted to do any decent DPS as a hunter, you would have to use a quiver, and you couldn't use your 5th bag slot like everyone else. There was also ammo you had to equip, like some ammo was better than others at the cost of being more expensive, so you had to worry about quivers and ammo just to play the game normally. Number 4 is lockpicking. So locks in the early days of World of Warcraft was actually a big deal. In fact, rogues had a secondary profession called lockpicking that they had to level up and skill up at if they wanted to open up a door. And a lot of these locks were very important, going from treasure chests that required lockpicking to open up, all the way up to opening doors for dungeons. There was also a separate bag slot, a 6th bag slot in World of Warcraft, which is called your keyring. And in that bag, you had a bunch of keys that you could use to open up doors, and there were also a bunch of items that you could use to open up doors, using explosions and so on. In Battle for Azeroth, door opening and lockpicking is just not part of of the game anymore, and it is just a quirky part of WoW's history. Number 5 is Ashbringer. So you may be thinking, Ashbringer was already in the game, we got that in Legion World of Warcraft, that was an artifact weapon for paladins. However, this was not the OG version of the Ashbringer. The Ashbringer was put into the game files all the way back in vanilla WoW, and a lot of data miners found this and was speculating as to how to get this weapon in the game itself. Blizzard never actually put this into the game world where you could actually obtain it. It was simply in the database, but no one figured out how to get it. So loads of people came up with rumors about how they got the Ashbringer. There was rumors circulating around in the game where if you were fishing in WoW, there was a tiny chance of getting this legendary weapon. However, it was all just rumors and all just people making up stuff, and there was no way to get the Ashbringer before Legion WoW. The closest you could come was getting the corrupted Ashbringer, which was a drop from Naxxramas 40. However, the original legendary Ashbringer was something that no one could get and no one ever received, which to be honest is a big shame because of how important this is in the lore of WoW. But at the time it was also an amazingly statted weapon and it was just really strong, but it was never put into the real official game. Number 6, Spirit. So if you have just joined World of Warcraft as of recently, you may not know what Spirit is. Spirit is actually a main stat in the game that got completely removed from the game itself. Spirit used to be amongst the ranks of strength, intellect and agility. However, Spirit has been completely taken out of the game and it was used as a stat for healers. The stat has changed over time from patch to patch, expansion to expansion, but it was commonly associated with regenerating mana and HP, which is extremely useful for healers especially, as this was one of the most important stats back in the day that a lot of mana using classes really did want to get. Number 7 is Wind Fury. Wind Fury was an absolutely amazing spell in the game. If you guys don't know what Wind Fury was, it was a shaman ability where you would enchant your weapon, which would give it about a 20% chance of gaining 2 extra strikes when you hit a target with your melee weapon, which is absolutely insane. And in the early days of WoW, this had no internal cooldown, so you could proc Wind Fury off the proc and you could hit a target 5 times in one hit. It was just absolutely insane and very broken. So this was extremely powerful burst damage that you could use in PvP. Shamans in the early days of WoW could basically one-shot a player if they got lucky with the Wind Fury procs and you hit critical strikes on top of that. You could easily take down someone in one hit, but it is all down to RNG. As I mentioned before, there's a 20% chance of this happening, and on top of that, you may crit or you may not crit, which will determine if you can actually one-shot someone or not. And Wind Fury has been nerfed and changed over time. However, in Warlords of Draenor, they finally removed it from the game, and now it is just a really missed ability from WoW, and a lot of shamans really do wish that they had Wind Fury back. Number 8 is Plains Running. So in the beta of World of Warcraft, they had an ability, a racial ability for Tauren that allowed them to run at mount speed at any time. So that sounds absolutely broken, and yes it is. This is why it got removed before the official launch of WoW. Plains Running would activate after 5 seconds of running as a Tauren, and then you would start sprinting at the same level as a mount, which is absolutely insane considering that getting a mount in World of Warcraft was really difficult and cost a lot of money, and you had to be level 40. With Plains Running, you could be running at the speed of a mount at level 1, which is just absolutely insane, and it doesn't cost you any money to learn it. So needless to say, this got removed from the game, but that is just amazing that something so broken was put into the game, that was put into the beta of WoW. I have no idea what Blizzard was thinking, why it even came up in the beta to begin with. Number 9 is Atiesh. So in vanilla World of Warcraft, you could obtain the legendary staff Atiesh, Great Staff of the Guardian, which was Khadgar's official staff in the lore. However, if you completed an epic quest where you had to get loads of reagents from raid bosses, you could craft this legendary staff. But that being said, it was extremely hard to complete this quest, so almost no one got it back in the day. I would say this is probably the least equipped legendary item in World of Warcraft history. It was that hard to obtain, and after Classic WoW ended and the Burning Crusade began, it was impossible to get this staff for yourself. So it is extremely rare, and almost no one has this staff in the game now, but this legendary staff was absolutely amazing. It had some of the best stats for a caster DPS. However, the most unique effect is that you could use it and teleport your group to Karazhan, which in vanilla WoW wasn't useful at all because there was no reason to go to Karazhan, but in the Burning Crusade there was a good reason to go Karazhan. It's just often forgotten about that you could even get this legendary item. When we think of legendary items from vanilla WoW, we always think of Thunder Fury and Sulphurous. However, ITS was also a legendary item in vanilla WoW, it's just almost no one got it. It was so hard to get it, guys. It's absolutely insane how rare this item is. But this was actually put into the game and you could obtain it. It wasn't just something in the database. Number 10 is Frostmourne, the legendary weapon of Arthas, and this was put into the game files of World of Warcraft. However, there was no way to actually obtain it officially in the game itself. This was one of the few cases where this was an artifact weapon that was put into the game files before Legion WoW ever got released. And this had some insane stats on it, and it's honestly kind of a shame that we didn't get this weapon to equip in game, but we did get Shadowmourne. But to be honest, I think loads of us would love to have Frostmourne, as it's just amazing transmog. It is Frostmourne, guys, it is the weapon that Arthas had. It's just like, who wouldn't want that weapon? But Blizzard, because they're killjoys, didn't let us equip Frostmourne in Wrath of the Lich King, and it was just put in the database to troll us. Well guys, if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like down below and subscribe to the channel for more videos. This is vaulty, signing out.